Okay, so Catriona Meehan, welcome to the Back for More podcast. This is episode two, guys, of the Back for More podcast. In episode one, we had Adrian Bradley, coach at More and Co. And now we have our newest addition to the team, Catriona Meehan, as our newest addition, as I said, coaching at More and Co. And this is episode number two. Hello, Catriona.
No, thanks for having me.
So yeah, look, we've been talking about this for a while, and what better time to do it when we have got a hell of a lot more time on our hands,
Yeah.
normally would. So yeah, look, I suppose anybody that's listening to this, at home, on a walk, on a run, wherever you may be, we will look to bring more podcasts to you on a weekly basis now, whatever that may be about. Maybe it's something to talk about a coach or a coach talking about a specific subject, but also just talking about everyday things. And the next one, I suppose, up will probably be me, and you'll probably need a good 3 hours to listen to my
Yeah.
podcast. Um,
That could be a
Catriona
10-part
probably,
series, like.
yeah, this is it, yeah. But today the focus is on Catriona, and lads, if any of you don't know Catriona already, Catriona is, as I said, a coach at Monco. She has a degree in sports science, and she started with us last July 2020, and it's been nothing but greatness ever since. So she's brought an awful lot to the community. She's brought an awful lot to me personally and to the gym. She's kind of straightened me out a bit, which all great women do. So we're just going to start off, I suppose, Catriona, with simple stuff. And as I said just before we started, just before we went into the intro, everyone in every podcast that I can hear right now starts off with a simple thing: how has lockdown been? So give us your brief, boring
But
explanation of how lockdown has been for you since last March.
well, geez, I feel like I've turned back to 16 years old now because I like in March 2020 I was living in Dublin, like as independent as possible, and then everything shut down. So it's like, right, I can stay in Dublin where I don't have a job and rent is expensive, or I can come home. So I took the easy option and came home, and been
Brilliant.
stuck here ever since. So basically I've
Yeah.
just living the the
Living the
self
dream. Living
living
the
the
dream.
dream back home. My mum
Yeah,
still is like, um
of course.
not
Yeah.
not so much anymore, I'd say, but yeah, just
Yeah.
like like I suppose it actually gave me a bit of time to kind of finish up my undergrad then, and then I've just been kind of, and then it was like I accidentally fell into the masters then, um because I didn't think I'd actually get it because it's one of the only ones in the country. So I was like, right, at least it's
Very
something
good.
else to be
Yeah.
working through for another
Yeah.
two lockdowns ever
Yeah,
since.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
You keep
so
yourself busy anyway, and we'll get
yeah,
into that later on. Most definitely, lads. Catriona is a busy bee. She definitely isn't one for sitting around watching Netflix
no.
all day at home throughout lockdown. So yeah, look, I suppose we'll get into that later on. But look, it's been tough for everybody, more so us and you and everybody else. But yeah, that is the other side of it, isn't it? That people, all different situations, like yourself, you're living in Dublin, you've just finished college, you're going into something new, and you probably were looking to go in a different direction from the point of view of starting something up there, and then this all hits, and then the kind of direction
Yeah,
changes. But I suppose that doesn't mean that you can't get back there later on when this is all over. It's just a bit
exactly.
of
Yeah,
a,
it's just
bit
another
of
bump in the
a
road, but
diversion.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. Of course, yeah. So, I write everything down because my mind is like lead at best of the time. So I've everything written down here, and we'll just go through it a bit by bit. So I like to start off each podcast, Katrina, because you're informing me and stuff that I wouldn't know already anyway. Because generally we don't talk about these things. We talk about business, we talk about coaching, we talk about programming, and not all the everyday today stuff. But yeah, so you fill me in some info. Born in Cork, which is always great Cork
Yeah,
woman, but had parents from Tipperary, so
yeah.
you're a bit biased. So before we start into that, I still assume that it's a Cork jersey on when
Oh, it's so, oh,
the game's
definitely, like
on.
wherever, whatever side of the county border you're born on, that's where you,
Oh, very good.
that's who you are.
So is there
Yeah.
big division? Is there big division in your house
Oh,
at a Cork tip
absolutely.
match?
Always,
Yeah,
every time.
very
And
good.
like in fairness, like to the parents, like because they're both from the same village in North Tip, and it's just like, so there's
Hurling
there's so much.
stronghold. Yeah.
Oh geez, yeah, like like so I can't deny that I'm a purebred Tip, but I'm I'm Cork through and through, really though.
Very good.
I'll always say,
Very
but
good.
Like, and in fairness, like, I've always been almost out better in Cork now. In fairness, I can't deny that. But
And would your parents visit? Would they visit home regularly, or would
all
you
the
be up there
time.
regularly? Yeah,
Yeah,
very
all
good.
through my childhood,
And you still
every
have
weekend.
family, obviously, in Tip and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like
Yeah.
we're always the ones that make the trek up, and we go house to house to house, and
Yes.
we see
Yes.
almost everyone on both sides of the family in a day or
Yeah.
two. Like, so, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
family road trip every couple of weeks.
Brilliant. It's great to have family in a different country as well, though. You know, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. And at the moment, you're obviously, but you're still in the countryside in Cork. You're not
Yeah.
exactly gone into city slickers. Like, you're still in
No,
the
no,
countryside. You're in Carricknaver.
exactly. Yeah. So they didn't
Good.
leave the country life for good now. Like, so still living
Yes.
in the heart.
Yes.
Like, geez, no one knows has ever heard of Carricknaver, and they're like, "Where's that?" It's like it's actually like it used to be the main road to Dublin, and everyone thinks I'm lying.
I must admit, I was one of them people until you told me, to be quite honest.
It's gas. Like, no, seriously, like, and it's true because like before even the motorway was built, like it used to take us
Yeah.
like 2.5 hours to get up, and it's
Oh,
like if it
Jesus.
would
Yeah, I
naturally
remember that road. I
or
remember that road. Oh, it was absolutely
Oh, I
horrendous.
remember
I
it.
remember
Oh,
going up.
the trauma of
Yeah.
sitting on the floor of a Ford. Oh, what was it? Oh, geez, it was a
No
5-seater,
seatbelts.
and there
Yeah.
no
Laying on the
seatbelts. But
ground.
one of us always
Yeah.
had to sit on the floor because there was 4 of us at that stage. No space wagon yet, so it was always me shoved in behind the driver's seat.
I know. Jesus. If the guards are out these days, it wouldn't be
I
locked
do.
up.
I know. I was
But
just shoved
yeah,
in.
look. So yeah, I was looking, and then you were talking me about it, and it's something I didn't know about you. That kind of your first love before you fell into obviously sport and lifting and sports science and all that. You kind of had a big background since you were 5 years old, actually, in film and documentary.
Yeah, it's actually
So
gas.
give me
Yeah.
give me a bit about that and how that started and when did you pack that in, and was there trips to the Opera House and to the Everyman, and was that all part of your childhood growing up?
Yeah, like I was always in youth theatre, so it's a bit like I did a bit of speech and drama and stuff. Because I actually, when
Yeah,
I was a child, I used to glide my R's. I still kind of do it a lot. Like
yeah,
I couldn't even pronounce my name properly, so that's how I got into kind of theatre and stuff. And then
yeah.
so I didn't go to like a stage and dance school type of thing. I was more like actual youth theatre. So they're the kind of ones where you're kind of hit with all these heavy topics and stuff. So I was
Yes.
in a couple of different groups. So I was in one called Boomerang for about 11 years. Or no, about
Jesus.
about 10 years. And then once that closed down, I started in graffiti then, which is in
Uh-huh.
Blackpool, which will be quite well known in the north side.
Very
Um,
good.
and I finished up there for about 5 years then,
Uh-huh.
4 or 5 years. So like I would have done loads of kind of acting and stuff through that, and but
Mm-hmm.
the kind of film side of it, I actually got cast in a couple of short films when I was like 11 or 12, just with
Really?
yeah. So there's a
Very
few
good.
floating around. I
I have
actually
to get hold of these films.
I stab a man in one of them. It's hilarious, like, and I was like 11, so I'm just like taught and going.
Are these Cork films? Are they Irish
Cork
films or
films,
what? Yeah.
yeah. What's the one of the schools inside in the city, and like they'd just do all for one of the film studies courses. They'd just be looking for just
Very good.
slave
Class.
labor to go around
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
what got my interest in it, and I did a couple of those, and then I started I kind of just started looking into film. So like you can't sit through a
Mm-hmm.
film with me in silence. Like it's not a thing. Like I
Oh,
go like,
really?
oh, did you know
Yeah.
this that angle? Oh,
All right.
do you see the
You're
close?
a film
Like
geek. You're
I'm
a film
film geek
geek.
when it comes to it. Like I just literally like I'm so judgmental of what people's like films are, and they're like, okay, that's fine. Like typical. Like every man's favorite film is Inception. It's like, wow. you know I don't hold back, but and then like I suppose that was kind of the only kind of major interest that I kind of got, because I was there like, well,
Yeah.
I don't think like stage acting stuff was kind of what I really wanted to go down. So I was like, right, film and
Mm-hmm.
documentary seems a bit interesting, because I was
Mm-hmm.
really obsessed with Dave Attenborough as a child. So I was like, geez, I'd
Oh,
love to just go
yeah.
out in the Serengeti and just film
Yeah.
animals or something or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um And like I'd done a couple of my own kind of short films and stuff throughout school and whatever. I'd like submitted them to like Cork film festivals and stuff like that, and I'd gotten a few of
Yeah.
them kind of viewed like on student days and stuff like that. So but
Very good.
so that kind of, it's kind of funny how that kind of followed me on just a little bit. But it was when I kind of started, then is when I kind of started getting into weightlifting stuff that I kind of fell
Yes.
away. Like I was still kind of very
Yes.
much interested
And what age
in.
would you say that transition kind of started, when you were like, right, I'm slowing down in this, but I'm moving in towards this, and what was the reason behind it?
So it was when I was 17. So I was in fourth year in school. So that was when I was kind of, I'd done like loads of like film stuff, but then I'd also been kind of like kind of starting in, because I into weightlifting and kind of properly getting into exercise and trying to take care of
Uh-huh.
myself, because I was there like, right, I'd kind of like everyone gains a bit of weight and TUI and stuff, and I was there like, right, I need
Yeah.
to change this around now. And it was the fact that my sister was going to this gym that I was like, right, I'll just go with you.
Okay.
She wasn't too
Yeah.
happy at the time, but
Yeah.
she was like, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
as
yeah.
easy.
That supportive other person, isn't that
Yeah,
always one of the main ways that people start into
definitely.
training,
Yeah,
whether it be male or female, it doesn't matter. It's like, I'll go because you're going, and then the person who goes with the person who they went with first time may be
yeah,
the person who sticks with it actually even longer than the person they went with.
yeah. It's gas.
So
Yeah,
yeah, I've seen that so much over the years, where you see somebody coming in with somebody else because of the fear, and there is a
yeah.
fear there in people's head, like,
Oh,
and then
definitely. Like,
it just balloons into like an addiction as such, but a good
yeah,
addiction, obviously. But yeah, carry on. Sorry,
yeah. No,
you were starting into the
yeah,
gym. Yeah.
because like I had played like a bit of GA as a child and stuff like that, but I don't know, I never really liked, I don't know, I never really fit in with like the club that I was in and whatever, because it was
Mm,
actually
mm.
amalgamation of the two villages here. So there
Oh
was always a bit
yes, yeah.
of one-sided
Bit of
to the other
yeah,
village, because that's where we
yeah,
trained and whatever. So I was like, right, we'll just so I never kind of felt part of that. So that's why I kind of
yeah,
fell out of sport and training for those few years. And
yeah,
then it was because my sister, and she was driving, so I was like, well, you have to take me with you. So
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then it's
yeah,
because I didn't even think that like weightlifting and stuff would have been a thing for me, but it turns out
yeah.
we're a bit of a freak of nature when it comes to
Yes,
moving bells
yes,
and stuff and
yes,
whatever.
yeah.
We've kind of figured
Well, you're the perfect geographical package for
I'm there like, Jesus, should have got into lifting when I was a child. I would have been a national prodigy, like
yes,
that, or
yes,
the
yes,
gymnastics. I would have been suited down to the ground, like so.
yeah,
But yeah, and then it was kind of just like I can go. So that was 2014. So
yeah,
that's almost 7 years ago now that I basically walked. Almost this time 7 years ago, I walked into
very
that gym
good.
for the first time, and
And that's been consistent, Katrina, for 7 years.
yeah, oh, like
Yeah,
three times a week
yeah,
for
yeah.
for at least 4 years. I
But
was
what
in
did
there
it
every
like? And
week.
I kind of follow on to this point from that, and it's a very interesting point actually. And it's something I talk about a lot over the years with the business is you you were there now for 7 years, and you just said you're going 3 times a week. But what's the reason behind that? It's not I would say that you just go there because there's kettlebells there and you want to lift kettlebells. You go
Yeah,
there because you enjoy it, you have a bit of crack, you have a bit of fun, and you have people there who are obviously very supportive. And that kind of follows on to the next question, because you said to me in your kind of breakdown that there was a coach there that kind of changed your direction of where you wanted to go, probably away from what you were talking about, film and documentary, but then moving in towards coaching and sports science and stuff like that. So fill me in a little bit about that. Like, a coach can actually make a big impact in somebody's life, and we don't realize it when we're actually coaching people, but it could be a simple conversation or a simple thing that we talk to them about could change the direction of where they go drastically. So
oh
how did
yeah,
that come to fruition? And how did you end up going from, I suppose, the film, documentary, drama background into, right, I'm going to do a sports science degree? Because they're
yeah.
totally derived,
It's
like
totally
they're
different.
totally
Yeah,
separate.
yeah,
So fill me in on that, and how that person
yeah.
helped you to
So
move towards that.
yeah, so my coach's name, like, and still my coach, like, just
Yeah.
like even just kind of an inspiration. Will Geary is his name. He's actually he actually started off in engineering and then went into sports, so like he
Yeah.
went from a totally different background to that as well. But I just found
Yeah.
he was just so just chilled, like he was like, but
Yeah.
he was good at making his point, getting across, really good at
Yeah.
instruction, but also like teaching you resilience and teaching you to just like suck it up and work through it, and like because ultimately
Yeah.
you get better at the end of it.
Yes.
But he
Yeah.
wasn't very like he's not your, like in my head at that age I thought like, oh, gym
Yeah.
coaches were just like on
Yeah. Yeah.
steroids
Yeah.
and big and bald and
Yeah.
just like trying to
Yeah.
sell
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
protein
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like he
Yeah.
continued like, and that community, like it was a really small gym in the north side, so like
Mm.
you were, so like each class was 2 hours, and like
Mm-hmm.
you got everything in that, and like she's like, definitely we took our rest periods a little bit at our liberty, so like we could be there like, oh, 2 minute rest, and it turned into a 10 minute chat session then, like, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Which is
was always,
okay too.
which is
That's
okay as
you wouldn't
well.
be you wouldn't be chatting and you wouldn't be having conversations if you weren't
Yeah,
uncomfortable.
yeah,
You
but
know.
there was always a good set of people in there that were there, like, right,
Mm.
because like he could have a spin class over here, and then you can
Mm.
have us, and he was like, right, I know you're going to do this work. It's like if you're
Yeah.
not in a ball of sweat by the end of this, I'm going to make you
Yeah.
do 100 burpees or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. So
Yeah.
I went through the ringer with it, but
Yeah.
also just he knew when to push you and say like, no, you can definitely do that, like don't drop the bells, just
Mm.
keep going, like it was
Mm-hmm.
just, everything was
Mm.
so just really autonomous, and like
Yeah.
just like you can definitely
That's
do
a
it.
that's a huge part of coaching. Like, is
Yeah,
that it's not, we say it all the time. It's not about what you know, and it's not about how educated you are, or even how much time you're coaching. It's about, can you make the connection with the person, um, to get them through tough times, whether that be mentally, physically, whatever it may be, to
yeah,
get them through them tougher times so that they can actually make themselves better.
yeah,
But it's not easy to do that, and you have to be able to approach people the right way to do it. And that's a very important point for us, and more and co, and the new branding and all the rest of it. Bringing it back to that, and kind of just simple coaching, using the right words with people at the right times, and actually having a lot of empathy for people's situation in any given day. And it
yeah,
sounds like he knew when to push, and he knew when to back off, and
yeah,
knew when to leave you have your chat, and knew when to go, right, you got to work now. But like, it's not all the time that we get coaches like that, and it's not all the time that you get a community like that. So it's very valuable, and then you spend like 7 years there. You wouldn't spend 7 years there if you didn't.
yeah,
So
exactly. Like I'm
yeah,
still
it's
in the school,
great,
and
it's
some
brilliant, and
people
it can,
would drop out, like
yeah,
I'm
back out of it. Yeah.
very close friends with people that I met on that first day 7 years ago, and it's like we've made it
Yeah.
this far, like
Yeah.
even with like the club
Yeah.
changing, and like geez, like
Mm.
just ups
Mm.
and downs and all the rest of it, and being like,
Yeah.
I'm the child welfare officer of the club now, and I'm there like 7 years ago. I wouldn't even have thought that I would have stuck around that. I wouldn't still be stuck in it, but I think it was just,
Yeah.
he was just such a, like a kind of just that figure I kind of needed, and like he's helped me through loads of stuff for college, and like he's just like really been really inspirational as a coach to
Brilliant.
me. And it was just a chat we had one
Yeah.
day. It was coming up to, I was in fifth year sometime, so I was competing and lifting, and like I was doing, like we were doing like strength classes and stuff. So I was doing kettlebells 3 times a week, but I was also doing like powerlifting 2 or 3 times a week, which could be
Mm-hmm.
after or before another session, whatever, because
Uh-huh.
I just really wanted to be in there as much as I could, because I just loved that session. Like I'd go in
Yeah.
after school and just do a session, or before I study on a Saturday, I'd go and get my Saturday session done, then go like
Mm-hmm.
all this kind of crack. Like
Mm-hmm.
I never ran away from it, and it was really because he kind of pushed me, and I knew I needed that, and it was just an
Yeah.
outlet that I really needed and didn't know
Yeah.
that it was an option for me. And it was just a conversation that we had, being like, oh, like I was kind of good at picking up and kind of teaching others and stuff, and just being like,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
like just like if someone came in, I was good at welcoming them or whatever, and just being like
Yeah.
walking them through. And it's
Yeah.
just a conversation being like, oh, have you ever thought about doing sports science or going down like an S&C route? And I was like, you know what, I never did. And then from literally that moment, it
It's
just
crazy, isn't
switched.
it?
Like
It's
literally in
crazy,
the
yeah.
space of about 10 minutes, I changed from going, I want to do film documentary, to
Yeah.
sports science. Like it was gas. And then from then it was like, right, if I want to do this, what do I have to do? And it's just,
But it's mad though, isn't it? It's crazy. Like, and we said earlier that they sound very, very apart, the two different
yeah,
things. Like that you're talking about. You've got sports science and you've got film and doc or drama. But at the same time, if you're a coach, you're
they
not an
actually
actor
make
as
sense and they
such,
work
but
together. Like, yeah,
they exactly. If you think about it, you're in front of people. You have to put on a display. You have to put it on well. And some days, 100%, you're not feeling very good about yourself, but you got to
yeah,
put on the display that you are feeling good because they need you to feel good for them to feel good. So, like,
yeah.
the acting background or the actress
Oh, it
background
definitely
is
comes in
definitely going to help
handy.
from the point. Yeah, do you know, like it's if you think about it logically, as you were talking there, I was thinking about it. I was like, this actually makes complete sense. Like
Yeah,
you're definitely going to be more comfortable in front of people because you have to be comfortable, obviously, in front of people when you're doing what you're doing. But it makes complete sense, and it probably was an easier transition actually to go from one to the
yeah.
other.
Because I
And
was so
then you
used to being
went,
pushed outside my comfort zone. And then it's like, right.
yeah,
And then to do that in a sports setting and being like in
yeah,
front of your class of like 35 people, it's like, do a squat. And they're like, oh
yeah,
my God, this is going to be like the worst
yeah,
squat ever. And everyone's going to judge
you
me. But
know. You know,
it's fine.
and then
'Cause
we all get that, don't we? We get that thing in our head that everyone out there
exactly.
is
Yeah.
judging me right now, but really they're not. You know, they're not. They're
No.
probably saying, you know, how am I going to do this? Or they might not be listening at all and thinking about their
Yeah.
dinner. You know, like we really don't know. But you stepped into from that then and the conversations with the coach. You went straight. Was it long after? Straight into applying for your degree to do sports science in GMIT in Galway. And did you go straight there then, or how long was what was the story there? Did you
Oh,
go straight to it?
yeah, like I literally, like I did my leaving cert. Like I only put down because I was always all over the place. I was kind of like, I didn't think I'd get into UL and stuff like that. And then the GMIT course literally was added during the change of mind kind of period of
Oh
CAO and
yes,
stuff.
yes, yes,
Like it
yes.
was
Yeah.
like a brand new course, like just added. It was actually developed by a woman from Cork and everything. So I was like, well, if that's
Uh-huh.
not a sign, I don't know what is. Went
Yeah.
up, like it was probably one of my first times in Galway, first
Mm.
times knowing of the college. Went up and I was just convinced. Like I had a chat with them. Dr. Lisa Ryan is her name, and I was just like, yeah, definitely, this is what I want to do, and this is where I want to go.
Brilliant.
So put that down. I got it. Yeah, my mom was so heartbroken when I was like, I
Of
accepted it straight
course.
away. I was like, great, go
Yeah.
on. She's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
off to Galway. So I was like, obviously.
Yeah.
So straight up. And like like because it was a brand new course, they were so like, oh, we always say like we were called guinea pigs more than we were
Oh
called
really?
students
Yeah,
because it was
yeah. You were the first year of that
the first
course,
year, so
so.
I'm,
Oh, were
I'm
you?
part of the
Very
first
good.
class of
Yeah.
graduates. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
almost completely different to what it was
Hmm.
4 years ago. Like I went in, like I'd only done biology in school, like as a science, and I
Yeah.
went in and I had to do physics, I had to do
Yeah.
chemistry, I had to
Yeah.
do anatomy and physiology. I
Anatomy,
so
physiology.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, I did
Yeah.
maths and
Yeah.
statistics. I was there like, this is
Yeah.
like, I had 7 subjects. It was like doing the leaving cert again at the end of the year. It was just
Really.
so
Yeah.
full on.
Yeah.
But it was just the sports science elements of it, and it's like, right, this is like you were literally learning this is how the body works, and then you were
Mm.
learning,
Mm.
right, now how do you apply
And
that?
that kind of and that follows me on to that question, and we were talking about that earlier before we started. What's the hardest thing? What was the hardest thing across the 4 years for you? Was it from the point of view of the sports science degree? Because there'll be other girls, women, and stuff out there 100% that'll be looking at this degree now. Maybe it's even the exact specific one that you've done in GMIT, and saying to themselves, "Am I able for it? Will I be able to get through it? What's the hardest thing about it?"
Yeah, oh, it was like definitely the hardest thing, I think, is like the workload in first year was definitely just a huge step, but it was also just the hardest thing was trying to apply it to yourself. So that's why I joined a gym and I was like, right, I'm literally gonna take what I learned in the class and I'm gonna do it on myself. So I'd do the
Yes.
programs
Mm.
on myself, and I'd do
Yeah.
like I did
Yeah.
oculation, I did supersets, I did, oh my god, I did everything on myself. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, right, now I know how hard it is. And it's like now you can apply
Mm-hmm.
it to people and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. But I think it's trying to push yourself to work your hardest. But I think that's kind of the same in every course that it is, like, because especially like in a course that's in an area that's predominantly male, it's like, but being a female actually makes it more interesting, because a lot of the research isn't done on females. So it's like,
Yes.
right, you're already an outlier in a class that's mostly
Yeah.
guys. So it's like, right, you're already kind of going against the grain. Um, so, and like, the more you apply yourself and the more that you kind of, push through the crowd and try and get as much as you can done, you get the most out of it. And I think the more that you try and look for the opportunities, you get more back. And that, like, same in anything, the more you put in, you get more out of it.
Yeah. 100%.
But
Yeah.
like, I'd definitely recommend it, because it was just like the lectures that I had on day one, I had on like the last day follow me up, and they're like like some of them have seen me in every state possible,
Yeah.
like where there's
Yeah,
tears
but
or
like that's
hungover
good.
or
And I was saying
everything.
that to myself when you were talking earlier, because it is the age old thing, and you said you tested yourself and you've done all the things in yourself. It's like, what's the age old thing that people say? It's like, say what I say, do what I say, not what I
Doing,
do. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, like I agree with you. If you want to know how it feels or you want to coach people, you got to go through it yourself. You
Oh yeah,
have to go
definitely.
through it
Like,
yourself. You
I've
know?
done the 12-minute test, I've done a bleep test, I've done
Yeah,
oh, I've done everything. Like, I've passed out, I've gotten sick
yeah,
in lectures, I've done the
yeah.
lactate, like, I've been pushed to
Mm,
my end,
mm,
like, and
mm,
it's
yeah.
not a pretty sight. Like, I don't
No,
know how
it's
many
not.
times I
It's not.
ended up with a lecturer holding my feet up, being like, "You okay, Catriona?"
Oh,
And like, "Yeah, fine." Just let the blood come
yeah.
back to me,
It's
like.
yeah, yeah. It's horrendous. But like again, we as coaches need to go through that stuff.
Yeah,
And
like, there's
even
one
for
thing
me
to
at the
tell someone to do
moment,
it, yeah.
yeah, even for me at the moment, it's the same. Like I'm going through. I recently picked up. I went kind of finished with GA and I gone into triathlon now, and it's a whole new game. Like, and it's some days, like yesterday I did an FTP test. It was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
And
You
today
need to
I'm
do
doing a
that
run.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, like today I'm doing a run that's under 140 HR, and it's so boring. It's
Yeah,
so boring. But
yeah,
yeah, like you do need to put yourself through the ringer to understand
yeah,
what other
exactly,
people go
yeah.
through, especially want to coach them in that area. But like a big question for me that we talked about again earlier was, and I think this is a very important question, especially for women. What's it, or how do you feel it is for a woman being in a sports science background for now and for the future? Because obviously, as you said, I would assume that it's more male dominated. I don't know what kind of percentage of your class was male in comparison to the female, and it was only the first year of the course or whatever. But
Mm.
what's it like
Yeah.
being a female in that area?
Like, it definitely makes you a bit more niche, because you're already looking through the lens as a woman, being like,
Mm,
right, all of these studies are done on men. Like, this algorithm doesn't suit a woman, because
mm,
like
mm,
all those formulas and stuff that were created, like calculating like your BMR and stuff like that, they were all
yeah,
done only on men. So it's like, of course it's not going to
yeah,
suit a woman. So it's kind of using your perspective and stuff, like, to kind of try and change that or adapt the systems that are already there. And that's why it's so important to get women into STEM courses and
yeah,
sport and stuff like that, because the more that we're there, then the more that we can actually work to kind of kind of
mm,
not change the system, but like reform it that it suits as many people as possible. But like in my class, like, it was actually, it's funny, like, it's always 50-50. Like, whenever
mm.
someone dropped out, there was always equal amount. So I think
Okay,
by the end of it,
yeah,
there was actually 16 girls and 15 lads, I think, by the end of it, or something like that. Like, it was always very even out.
mm,
So, and always, like, as outspoken as the lads, always working probably as hard, if not harder, always pushing
uh-huh,
and being like, right, like,
uh-huh,
always bringing a new perspective, like, because most of the projects then by the end would be like, okay, I'm going to do this test, but I'm going to do it on a female population. And like, that's
yes,
literally
yeah.
the point of us being there, is like, right, there's all this research, but none of it's done on, say, even just
There's
like cis
but
women. There's not very
yeah,
little on trans, there's little on non-binary populations. So the more that
yeah,
you can get even women into it, then that opens
uh-huh,
doors to everyone else, like.
mm,
So I think by, like, I think I was given lots of opportunities and stuff, because I kind of took that perspective, and everyone would know that I'm pretty much just like, I'm a feminist, and I like will push for it as much as I can to get that. I was very outspoken to the point that I probably made a few enemies, but I'm not bothered by that really. Like I was like, if you're not my friend, I don't really care. So, but yeah, no, like I think it's just so important to get women into these areas, because it's like, right, if you think that it is, you know, it is having a bad effect or it's not really helping, then it's like, right, you need to get into that position where you can help. And that's why like the head of the school department like is a woman. So it's like we can't get those reaches if you're not going to try and put yourself in that position. And like
so it's so important right now to have female coaches, you know, with that type of background. You know, it is, because there's so many more people, everyday people into health and fitness. It's and I would say it's even bigger now with what's gone in the last 12 months. People have kind of reintroduced a lot more health and fitness back into their life, but also, you know, if you can just look at team sports and stuff like that, like any male oriented sport that's there right now has the female version of it as well. So like there is there's a huge want and need there for female coaches. If we just you would know, we just had a new rehire, and I would say for every 10 applicants I had on the new I had one female. It's still way more male in that area than there is female. So it's good, and it's good to see, you referenced it there, it's really good to see that there is women in charge of a course like that. I think that's very important. I think that's really, really important, because that sets the bar.
Yeah, that's exactly it, because it's like, if you don't see it, you don't think you can be it. And it's like, right, well, like there's like the head, like in IT Carlo, like the president is female. It's like, you know, it's very rare to find these figures, because it's like, but you mostly find them in ITs, because they're already quite, they would have opened at a time where women were only starting to be allowed to go to college and stuff like that. So they would be a little bit more progressive, in my opinion. But like when, because like it's really in the last kind of 12 months to 2 years, I'd say that there's more respect for women's sport as well. Because a lot of the time it would be like, oh sure, the camogi's on. Like everyone knows the Cork camogie team is leaps and bounds better than the men's hurling team. Like just like how many All Irelands do they have?
More medals in the last 15 years.
Exactly. And like and but like everyone said, like, oh sure, why would you want to watch camogie? It's like, sure, it's all a ground game. It's like, sure, they're just as skilled, if not better. And it's like, there's so much more that you have to go through with it, because you have to deal with the fact that it's like, you could be, you know, playing to an empty stadium, and it's like, that's because some people just don't care.
It comes back around to multiple things as well. You know, I have a GA background, but like it comes back around to the GA pushing that game more as well. And,
exactly. And a lot of the onus, I feel like, because in fairness, like the GA does a lot of good things
and all the rest of it.
It
does. It definitely still needs to up its game on the women's side, though, because, you know, I've trained women's teams plenty, even before I had a gym. That was one of the first things I started off doing. To be people listening to this who would have been part of that. You know, I trained hockey teams, I trained camogie teams and stuff like that. And to be quite honest, and I always say it, give me a woman any day to train over a man, because just simple fact, they listen more to me, and they actually do what you say. But like, that doesn't mean that men don't listen as much. It's just sometimes men think they know more than what you know.
Exactly.
So like there still is a bit to go on it. There still is a bit to go on it.
Because a lot of because like I've seen it in my course and stuff, is that, no, everyone thinks like, oh, to like, my dream job as a coach is to coach like, you know, the Mayo men's seniors, and it's like, but if you were to get like Mayo as women's, that's a failure. And it's like, and like, you know, more coaches start off in the female version, and it's like, that's not a failing. Like, you're still playing with top. Like, look at our hockey team and our cricket team, and like, we've both male and female teams in the Olympics, and at playing at a high international level. Like our our top boxers are female. Like a lot
the best
of our
boxer in the world.
Literally, like, it's like, we don't have to, exactly. And so like, so, and they're like, if Like if you knew the day of a life of a woman, you'd be there like, yeah, geez, no wonder. Like you should be applauding. Like it's there's so much more, and like you don't even have to go into like funding and all that kind of stuff. Like because
I know.
like say because
No, look,
everything's
it only,
it's
as I
such a
said,
huge
like
thing. Like you can't get into
it
it.
only gets better with people like you doing what you're doing, as in right now you've done your degree, you've done that, now you're going to do the master's degree,
Yeah,
and also like now you're coaching people every single day, so you actually have influence over people,
yeah,
and you're getting yourself out there. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and it does kind of follow on, I suppose, to the end of the sports science discussion, is how can sports and men lead sports? And we know like sports science is very relevant because the margins are so small that sports science can change literally the outcome of a game, right? We know that. Like if you look at
yeah,
rugby, I'm big on listening to sports science and rugby and stuff like that. I absolutely love it. Like the margins are so small that a really good sports scientist or someone who knows exactly what they're talking about can change it drastically just by moving the needle 1 or 2%. But
yeah.
how do we apply sports science on a daily basis? Just say the members of Moore and Co. How can they apply sports science and data and analysis to their everyday training? How is that, like, for me asking you that question as a sports scientist, what's the
Yeah.
best and easiest way and simplest way they can understand to use that to better themselves on a daily basis?
See, like it's all it's like it's the age old answer. Like it depends. Like it depends on the type of person. I use say on a simple thing like for nutrition. Like I follow a very specific. I weigh everything, so I know exactly how much is going in, and I've been doing that for almost 6 years, and it
It's second
works.
nature. Yeah.
It's second nature. I
Yeah.
have my scales going almost everywhere with me, and everyone's like, "Geez, how do you do
Yeah.
that?" I was like, "It's just one extra step before it goes into your mouth, like it's fine." But the next person,
Hmm.
they hate that. But
Yeah.
like in a broader sense, like say if you're like the easiest thing, there's so much free information out there. It's ridiculous. Like everyone that does the research and like publishes it, they don't get a cent from that. Like you could spend
Hmm.
literally 3 or 4 years doing research and studying a group, and then it's just published. You don't get any money from it. So it's like they want people to see that, and the easiest thing you could do is literally go onto PubMed, go onto Science Direct, and it's just like you could read one journal a week, and you could learn
Hmm.
in so much. And if you go like, right, I want to know like what's the best protein sources, or why do I do that, like just learning why and how something works helps build that understanding. So it's like, right, I know that getting that extra 5 degrees in my hip flexion in a squat actually is able to build more muscle in my glutes and my hamstrings. So if I actually try and push myself a little bit lower, I'm actually going to get more out of it and stuff. And
Hmm.
like if you're trying to get faster, basically like the easiest thing is just building strong glutes and strong hamstrings. Like 'cause people think like, oh, speed, that's just trying to run faster, get a
No.
smarter time. It's like, but if you don't have the body built for it,
Yeah.
you're not gonna do
Yeah.
it. So you have
Yeah.
to do that sort of training.
It's
So I
power.
think
Yes.
it's
You have to
power,
develop
that
power.
building that power
Exactly.
and stuff. So I think the easiest thing is literally the information is there. You don't, but looking for the right information, because you could open
Mm.
Instagram and you're getting flooded with all these fitness
Yeah.
influencers being like,
Yeah.
oh, drink this like
Yes. Yes. Yes.
whatever
It's a
supplement,
whole other podcast. That's a
whole
whole
other
other
podcast, and
podcast.
Jesus Christ, does it push my buttons. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it actually gets me so mad sometimes to think like,
You just
okay,
gotta
you're
leave it go,
promoting
Katrina.
that.
You just gotta leave it go
Oh
and
geez, yeah.
unfollow.
It's just like deep breaths,
Unfollow and
close
leave it
down
go.
the app and move
Yeah.
on. But literally, if you're ever curious about something, because that's one of my big drivers in life is
Mm.
curiosity. I've always been a curious
Mm.
person, so that's why
Mm.
going into research and stuff is always like, okay, I'm just going to sit down and read an article about like sleep and fruit, like because people
Yes.
think like,
Yes.
oh sure, why
Yeah.
would you drink, like because really if you eat a kiwi or like a tub of melon before you go to bed, you're going to have the best night's sleep of your life, and it's not even a joke. Like because people
Yeah.
think like, oh, the high sugar will spike your insulin. It's like, nah, it actually, like if it just does everything it needs to do, and then you get a lovely night's sleep. And I was like, simple. And that's
There
something
you
you can
go.
directly apply into your life very cheaply. It's not like, okay, I need to eat 12 portions of fruit a day, or I need to be doing this, that, and the other.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
read one paper a week and you were able to apply some segment of it, because like every paper
Yeah.
can spit out about 12 findings. If you took one thing that was the most easiest thing to apply, like a change in your training, a change in your nutrition, a change in your sleep, or like there's loads going into mindfulness and visualization now. There's loads of research coming out about that, because that's become such a niche, and it's growing in sports science now, because even 10
It's
years
huge in
ago,
sports science now. Huge.
sports psychology was barely a thing, whereas now you're getting more degrees in that sort of thing.
I remember 10 years ago, and sorry for interrupting you, that
No, you're grand.
we would have done, we you know, with senior GA teams, sports science, sorry, it's not sports science, sports psychology was introduced to us, this
Yeah.
1 year. And I look back now, and it was, it was the laughable kind of session. It was the session where we had a bit of crack and it was messing,
Yeah.
and no one took it seriously. And now it's such a huge thing, and
It is,
sports
yeah.
science probably was kind of similar, because my playing days would have been kind of between early 2000s all the way up to kind of 2012, 2013, 2014. But it's changed so much right now, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not, it's proven now to move the needle, whereas
Yeah.
before there wasn't the research done. And
Oh
obviously
no,
if
sure. Like
people,
even when you think of like even say, like in 2005, when like the core curlers were like, oh, we'd like to have a gym space so we can train, and they were like, why would you
yeah,
need a gym? And it's like nowadays
exactly.
you need an S&C coach, you need a speed coach, you need a nutritionist, you need a psychologist.
Yeah.
Like your backroom team isn't just your coach and your selector. Like it's at least 10 people.
Yeah,
And even
if you look at like even the top of it, right? You look at, and I know I'm referencing the men's game here, but like they are the greatest team ever. If you look at the Dublin football team, but the Dublin football team starts in the stadium. Like they have something like, and I've read on this, they have something like 6 to 7 data analysis, sports scientists, as you said, nutritionists, everything, with laptops in the stadium watching the game while the game is going on, and they're individualizing each player and their data throughout the game. Like that stuff all filters down into 6 All-Ireland titles in a row.
Yeah.
Like,
like they have the money for the analysis. Like you have GPS, you have accelerometers, like you've got your performance analysis. Like one of my lecturers, he does the analysis, like the live match analysis during the Sunday games. Like he's the guy up in the corner, just he's clicking all the buttons. That's all the data you get through, and it's like
it's very
he
interesting.
breaks it down. It is, yeah, and
like I know we find it, other people might find it really, really boring, but I find it really interesting because it's proven now again that it does move the needle. You know what I mean? It does change everything.
It does, and that's kind of where it feeds into. It's starting to feed into punditry a lot now, and you're getting kind of better quality pundits now because a lot of them are coming from that background as well.
Yes,
because
they were in it.
Yeah,
they were in it.
exactly. Because a lot of punditry is just opinions, and it's like, great, but what's like you're just saying that, and no one can argue with it. Whereas if someone hands you a sheet with, oh, these are the stats, it's like, well, that's solid information, and that's completely like that disregards all sort of bias. It's like, this is literally what happened. It's like, right, one side had 50%, 55% like possession, but they were better in this quarter or this side or from this position. It's like you can literally break down everything. And then I suppose that's kind of like having that kind of element and thinking like, right, geez, how can I learn more about a team, and kind of like all that kind of stuff that really got me into performance analysis. Because it's like, right, you can literally, coming from the film and documentary side, is like you literally use a camera, and that can literally, you could stand on the sideline of a game and you can break down every like every player's pattern, every coaching, training, everything that they do on the field. It's like you can literally sum that up on a piece of paper, give that to your coach. It's like, right, you need, it's like, this is how they play, or this is how certain players play. So if you're going to face up this team next week, I would say you need to, you can help, and then that feeds into your selecting, feeds into your coaching.
Specific. That's why it's called sports specific. It's specific, like, and one of the big things that sports science has changed drastically over the last 10 years. And again, I'd use the GEA because, I would call it elitist to the point at the top, but it has changed the way injuries are dealt with. And it definitely has been used greatly for injury prevention.
Yeah, exactly.
And be used smartly,
Yeah, that's it. And
Gone are the days of where fellas should be going out and like I'd be a big I had these conversations years ago with senior football teams that wouldn't have been as wanting to change the way, but gone are the days where you should be out in January and running fellas into the ground for like
yeah,
for 20
exactly.
kilometers on a Tuesday and a Thursday
The
night.
last
Like
thing you
it's
should be doing first training back is
yeah,
laps and laps and
exactly.
laps. It's like, sure,
Yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
spend the first half of the season dealing with
yeah.
injuries because they went from naught to zero,
Mm.
naught to 100. Like,
Exactly, and then the old school way of the way that now I know it's changed because of the pandemic, but the way the GA season was set up was right. We need to work really, really hard for 3 months, January to March, and then we're going to go and we're going to build up then in the league towards championship, and then want to hit the ground running then. But what was happening was all your best players weren't available to you at the time when they needed to be available for the biggest games because they'd
yeah,
flogged themselves so much and they haven't focused in on
yeah,
actually being better. Hamstring injuries just everywhere,
yeah,
cruciate injuries everywhere.
yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
no, like it's a really important point, and we could go into a whole other podcast on sports science itself, I
Yeah,
think. But what I wanted to move on to after that was obviously you've kind of you've gone, and we wouldn't call More and Co Sports Science Center. It's right everyday people who want to come in and make themselves better every day and come in, get a session done, feel happy, feel mentally better and physically better, and go home. So what is it you love about coaching classes, and how has it been since you started coaching in front of people on a daily basis and applying your knowledge to the class?
that's the thing. It's like, right, I went from, like, 'cause when I was in Dublin, I was working with the top athletes in the country and stuff like that. And then
Mm.
it's like, right, you move home and you're working with your everyday
Yeah,
people. And it's
yeah,
like, you learn so much just from them as you would with an athlete. And to be honest, like, there's so much coaching knowledge that you build from that, because an
mm,
athlete they'll kind of go like, oh, like, this is basically my job, so I'll do it. But they don't get as much love from it. Like, trying to get
yeah,
someone to do every set perfectly, they'll be like, oh, I'll just leave it. And they'll just walk out,
yeah.
and they'll whereas if you get someone in and they're like, right, I have this my only hour of the day, like, I mightn't be able to make my class tomorrow, so I'm going to just flog myself. It's like, you
Mhm,
get so much more. I
mm,
think, like, it definitely depends. You can get, so, like, there is so much more driven into them because they're like, right, I have so much stress coming from work and life and house and everything else, and it's like, this could be
mhm.
my 1 hour of freedom.
Yeah,
And you're like, right, so I'm going to make
100%.
this
Yeah,
1 hour of freedom as best and as hurting and as workful as
yeah,
possible. And, like, you can see that difference every day, because to these people, it's not just like, if they wanted to go train, they could just join any gym, walk
yeah.
in, do the set, go home. But it's the fact that you come in and it's like, right, you have these, like, a couple of people, we're all here to do one thing. It's a bit of a laugh. It's
Mhm.
just a nice space that you feel like, right, I'm definitely making a difference to these 10 people right here, right now. And it's like, right,
Yeah, and isn't it like it's like right, if you step back to the kind of the higher performance person, it's minimal the amount of improvement you make with
yeah,
them.
like,
It's
you're
going to be
looking for
minimal.
that 0.1%.
Yeah,
Whereas with these
but
people, it's like,
you can
you,
make a drastic
oh, like,
difference.
you can see, like, the difference against someone, like, getting someone who thought they could never deadlift, like, even 50 kilos, to get them to lifting
Yeah,
70 kilos. It's like, and it's
yeah,
like, you get that, like,
yeah,
that there's so much enjoyment, there's so much more, like, achievement in it. And it's like, geez, like, their achievement is my
yes,
achievement, because they would have thought,
yeah,
nah, that's way too heavy. And it's like, you just lifted it 2 feet off the floor. I
yeah,
think you I think
yeah,
you
yeah,
did it, like,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
take
It's
that so much more
so
to heart.
Yeah, it's so empowering for you and for them. Like you
Yeah,
get energy from it. Like I've
yeah,
noticed that over the years coaching, and they've been coaching a fair amount of time, and it's one of the greatest things when you see somebody doing something they didn't think they could do, or just messaging you or talking to you about how it's going and how what they've come from to whatever amount of time that may be. And everyone has
yeah,
their ups and downs. I'm sure people are very very down right now. It hasn't been easy on all of us, but there is
yeah,
people out there right now who are struggling. They're struggling with their health. They're struggling with their fitness. They're struggling with their mental health an awful lot
yeah,
because they're not able to get to a place like ours to actually train. So, I do reiterate that to everybody out there that I think the gym or whatever gym space it may be, that it's so important to people right now, for us to be able to reopen whatever capacity that may be in. So people like us can actually have some influence again every day to make people happier. And I talk about that all the time, right? It's just, yes, it's about all the movement and we have to know all that, but like our job is simple. It's just to make people have a happier day. And
exactly.
that's a
It's
vital
just
part for people
pushing
right
them
now.
on and being like, no, you can definitely do it. And it's like they could literally have had the worst day and they feel like, you know what, I just can't do this last rep. And it's like, you need to be there, kind of almost in their face being like, yeah, I can. You just got like, you know, you do have to be that energy that they need. You have to be that voice in the back of the head saying, you know, because there's something in their head saying like, oh, nah, you can't do it, just give up. You have to be that voice that's saying,
and
no.
it's so hard for us right now to get that energy across the screen.
Yeah,
like
there's so
it's
much
so
lost
difficult
from Zoom.
There's so much lost. Like that's a personal thing where you need to be with that person there and then, even if it is 2 meters apart. But like you just can't reenact that sort of energy and want and kindness to a person across the screen. But yeah, no, it's like it's great, and the way you've fitted in so well with the team and the structure in a very difficult situation. You kind of started into a job in the middle of a pandemic, which is which is like nobody has ever done it. So like you're kind of, again, you can go back and do a thesis on this and how
the next research project.
But like but you've been fantastic, Catriona. You continue to do that every day with people, and you know there's nothing but good thoughts there for you from our end. And I'll finish up on a simple question for you, which I think a bit of crack is what we're all about anyway. So what's the funniest thing? I know my funniest thing. But what's the funniest thing you've ever seen? With the PG kind of 13, right? What's the funniest thing you've ever seen someone do in the gym while you were there? Or it might not be where we are. It might be some other gym. It might be in Galway. It might be somewhere else. What's the funniest thing that kind of made you go, "Oh Jesus"?
I think I could write a book on this. I'm not joking. And because I've been in a couple of different gyms with loads of different people and stuff like that. But I think the one that tops it is about a year and a half ago. So it's like in the gym that I used to go to in Galway, and I was just sitting doing my own thing, and there is a guy trying to do like box jumps or whatever. But oh my god, like I actually can see, like, so they had a wall, and he had basically all of them. It was about 7 feet tall, and I was there like, and I'm not joking, like I knew this guy, and I was like, he's not much taller than me. So like I say, he was about 5'5" or 5'6" now. Like he wasn't a tall lad. He wasn't a giraffe. So I was like, how is he gonna do this? And I was like, I'll just sit back and watch, because this is gonna be a thing of beauty. And he went, so it was like there's a perfect line, so a space of a good, I don't know, about 20 meters, because they went like the length of the gym basically. And he was like, he had this all set up, walked back, and he's like, oh, he's going off to get a drink. And he literally stood at the 20 meter spot, and he's just started pelting it, like running like top speed. And I was like, what's going on? And he tried to jump up onto it, and he just went like into the side of the fire boxes. And I just there sitting there like, did anyone else see that? Because that was, oh my god, it was the worst thing. He just went splat into it. But the thing is, he went back and tried it again. And oh my god, and I think he tried it about 2 or 3 times, and it's like
the plyo box. The plyo box is always like, I have a fit.
He gave it up anyway. But I started like, did that just happen? And I just thought it was the funniest thing.
The thing is, these things happen every single day in commercial
every
gyms.
Single
no
day.
one ever talks about them. Like,
oh geez, like just the way you think, like, I think that's the one that tops it, because I can still see his body just slam into the side of the fire boxes, and it's just like, like when I said I trying to contain the tears when I saw it was just ridiculous. Like, oh my god, it was just so funny. That definitely tops it.
That's a funny one to finish on. But look, it's been great, and it's been a great conversation. I hope everyone at home gets something out of it, especially the points on, you know, being a woman and being a woman in sports science and in coaching. I think that's probably the most relevant part of our whole conversation. But it's been brilliant. I've learned an awful lot again about you, and look forward to getting this out to the public. And guys, we will see you all on our next episode of the Back for More podcast. That'll be episode 3. And we will hope that might be, as we said, start talking to me. That could be a 2-parter though.
Yeah, at least.
Right, Catriona, thanks for being, and I'll see you in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Thanks.
Thanks, Catriona.